You have no regard for myself, and there is not a glaringly obvious explanation for us to talk crimes besides without referencing current realities of the case. Before us kids were involved, I need to ask you, however, what is it that you believe that should do it? Seems like Shirley Strawberry needn't bother with any help for her flow activities. And clearly, even her own little girl Sheridan betrayed her in the shameful case about Shirley's significant other and his harness violations. And keeping in mind that Shirley attempts to continue on with her own personal business, like nothing happens her little girl, spilled more beans in general circumstance. And evidently there's some dim dull truth about her mom she needs to impart to the world. Readings everybody. And welcome back to Celeb Live channel. So all of you knew Shirley Strawberry as a popular radio personality and character. And the zenith of her telecom profession is being co-host of famous Steve Harvey on one of the most morning shows in the country, a task to really be glad for. Say, hey, I'm Shirley Strawberry, and I'm the co-host of Steve Harvey's public broadcast, The Steve Harvey Morning Show. I've been doing it throughout the previous 15 years. The crowd additionally knew her a wonderful and jolly woman who knows how to cherish herself and offers astonishing relationship guidance. Yet evidently behind this veil, there was concealing someone else, and thinking of her as long-lasting union with a frightening person named Ernetta Williams. There are sure doubts slithering into individuals' brains about Shirley and her unpleasant hubby, who was presently the most researched individual in America. As a result of his insane hunger for carrying out crimes, there will be around 15 or more warrants coming as bearing serious crimes in there. So Shirley is currently being blamed by her own little girl Sheridan for protecting this man and agreeing with his position in the entire story well. When Sheridan initially got to know Ernesto, she was 19 years of age, fundamentally a kid herself, and she completely believed her mother's judgment, and even was glad for these two anyway. As Sheridan presently says, there have been significant warnings in this relationship, and definitely in spite of her abilities and gifts. And relationship exhortation missed all cautioning signs all through 8 years of her marriage since she was enamored with Ernesto. Certainly I have been hitched to my life as a youngster darling for quite a long time. Now Sheridan is stunned that her mother was residing with a criminal for very nearly 10 years. And clearly she attempts to say that Shirley had some awareness of the huge unfortunate piece of these wrongdoings, albeit the couple got familiar in 2013 and wedded in 2015. Ernesto's crook record, as per the arraignment, can be followed back to the 1980s. In his past, those crimes go as far as possible back to the 80s. Now Sheridan feels that her mother truly did a record verification on Ernesto prior to getting hitched to him. And as a matter of fact, she had some awareness of his past wrongdoings anyway. Shirley could have been persuaded that everybody is permitted to have an obscure past. And as I let you know in the past, recordings Ernesto carried out most of his most terrible violations while being hitched to Shirley. So now that Sheridan will in general accept that her mother truly realized about new crimes, yet decided to cover for her better half, and essentially sell out her own girl, when she was permitting Sheridan and her children to associate with this beast. And as Sheridan says, her mother chose not to see each warning in view of her need of a man around. Well, it's straightforward Shirley's distress. Since when Ernesto proposed to her live on the Steve Harvey Morning Show, Shirley was at that point 60 years of age, and this was the most enchanted and energizing second for her yes to simply show Shirley, while fans and audience members were glad for Shirley, feeling that this woman would now be residing in a merited fantasy after her previously bombed marriage. It seems like the radio personality set out on another way, and with Ernesto her way was cleared with unimportant wrongdoings and misdeed in 2017. Essentially 2 years subsequent to getting hitched, Shirley, who had an unblemished lawbreaker record, around then was sued for neglected lease. The legitimate docs guarantee Strawberry and her significant other Ernesto Williams were both blamed in the suit for not paying $7,500 every month on a Los Angeles house she was leasing as the mortgage holder. Express Strawberry continued to come up with a wide range of reasons why lease was not paid in time, yet when the sheriff came to remove her and her hubby a couple of months after she had proactively left the property, I don't have the foggiest idea what sort of experiences Shirley needed to encounter at 65, yet this sounds fairly insane for it turning out. Individuals for Steve Harvey, as per Sheridan, this was only the start of her mother's way down the criminal path, and presently she came that far that attempts to utilize her associations and cash to help this person out of prison, notwithstanding knowing the extensive rundown of his crimes. Mr. Majeski has expressed he's viewed as risky. There are a few forthcoming warrants. And despite the fact that Ernesto's guard lawyer, Mr. Lewis, gave a valiant effort to represent his client, and surprisingly, referenced that there were no strong evidence against Williams' late bad behavior connected with people under 18. His discourse didn't dazzle the appointed authority, and perceiving how profoundly perilous Ernesto is, the adjudicator requested him to remain in Fulton Province with a screen joined to his lower leg. In addition to no contact with Sheridan and her children, to all minors and even creatures, switch off your visa to Mr. Lewis. No further contact with anybody younger than 18, no friendly, no virtual entertainment, no web access. Now Sheridan feels terrible for her mother uncovering herself and obliterating her own standing for this man. And it appears as though Shirley is really wildly enamored with this man, or she's captivated by him, since there could be not an obvious reason to her ongoing activities. Shirley lives in her own fictional universe, where she can go to work consistently like nothing is occurring. As one fan remarked, I just figured out a few days ago that she's still on the radio praise. I would be so humiliated to try and show my face at work. And another client added she ought to quit doing the public broadcast the strawberry letter, step away the spotlight. This is crazy and insane. She actually needs to separate from him and continue on. He's wiped out. And what oddities out Sheridan the most is the reality. This man has been carrying on with twofold life since he began dating her mother. Evidently, beside his broad crook record, this man was keeping a courtesan on display. And she was likewise his right hand in all fake plans. Williams and Lord are presently in prison, both having to deal with various penalties of extortion, falsification, and burglary. The entire circumstance is basically humiliating for Shirley Strawberry, and it tosses serious shade on her picture and vocation anyway. As we gain from her activities, she wouldn't fret gambling by any stretch of the imagination for this fellow, and even hauls others like Steve Harvey into herms. While Steve was the person who strolled certainly down the path to get hitched to Ernesto, she is some way or another persuaded that Harvey will gamble with his standing to cover for this man. And both radio personalities were blamed for attempting to assist Ernesto with escaping the nation. And as it was expressed, Steve Harvey wasn't somewhat satisfied with such serious charges, and he chose to reduce most, if not all, connection with this show before his own name is hauled through the mud and perpetually connected with fifth sequential criminal. I can get to any even out of pardoning. There is absolutely not a chance. Potentially disregard, as Sheridan says. She wishes her mother would do a similar. She believes Shirley should get separated from Leave a City and begin another each other spot, or perhaps resign with poise while she gets an opportunity. It's been scarcely a year since Ernesto's last wrongdoing, and in the event that Roswell police didn't get him and his associate, and claimed Paramore Erica Ruler, who knows the number of different violations, these two that would have carried out police, say for a really long time, these two would persuade individuals to offer them cash, and as a trade-off they would assist them with their business or individual objectives. And these are not a few unimportant violations, like not paying month-to-month lease. I'm discussing million-dollar misrepresentation plot. Examiners say Williams and 46-year-old Erica Lord persuaded individuals to pay them for their business mastery as Roswell cop Tim Lupo expressed they would conform to their casualties, with those to have the option to develop their brands, their missions, their life objectives, their virtual entertainment followings. There's been a very sizable amount of verification to make any wife, even not so renowned as Shirley, to take off from such a fellow and let him decay in prison for his shocking violations. Yet, as Sheridan says, it's difficult to dissuade her mother right now since she has confidence in her own reality. And keeping in mind that the realities in a real sense shout that Shirley should leave this man, quickly, clearly, the radio personality needs to endure the tempest as a wedded lady, not a chaotic divorceway. It's okay, you're doing extraordinary, you're doing perfect, yet for me it was testing you realize. Within I had a ton of stuff continuing unfortunately. The law says that the spousal tribute honor incorporates one companion from affirming against the other made in criminal or related procedures, and many fans accept that Shirley will utilize this honor and keep her mouth hurdled about all that her hubby had done to others anyway. As fans say, as long as Shirley continues to guard him, she is viewed as an accessory. As one individual remarked, numerous ladies invest more energy picking a couple of shoes to go with that ideal dress than investing additional time in picking a man you get what you search for. And another client added, a few ladies conceal for the men they could do without to be distant from everyone else. Seems like she got what she merits. He's dreadful, and she's frightful trust. And except she realized well, it seems like Shirley would rather not stand by listening to anybody, even her own girl, and she likes to stay with her criminal component through various challenges. And what is your take on this, folks? Did Shirley have some familiarity with her hubby's violations? And for what reason do you believe she's actually covering for him? Share your contemplations in the remarks underneath. I'm anxious to understand what your